Hello, everyone. We are going to be talking about Godzilla. And I know you heard about Godzilla, because come on, for real, who hasn't heard of Godzilla? He is a freaking icon. I love Godzilla, okay? There's so much to learn about Godzilla, so much information that people don't even think about, and that he's actually an important figure through his history. Now, I think that I'm a pretty credible source, especially since I've been a super fan of Godzilla since the first moment I was able to look at a TV. My dad and my grandfather really got me into it, and as you can see here, I am still into it. Super. I collect the toys, as you guys want to call them, collectibles. There's the movies, the books. There's so much to this franchise. It's crazy. I even got the shirt. One thing you guys would have never known about Godzilla is that his birth is actually caused by World War II. If World War II probably would have never happened, then Godzilla probably would have never happened. Godzilla came out the year of 1954, and he was used as a metaphor by Japan in order to display the what nuclear reaction can do. As you know, the nuclear bombs that the US sent to Japan were pretty devastating. Godzilla is basically that metaphor of what nuclear radiation is. Godzilla was basically the tool that Japan used to show kids and adults that nuclear attacks were not the right way to go about anything. So, what Japan did was they made this movie. And in the movie 1954, they weren't expecting to be a global hit, a massive monster, as I will call it. And now Godzilla is super iconic. And ever since, he has more than 40 films out there. I don't know what other famous actor you know that has 40 films, but I don't know any like that. Throughout the years, there has been many different forms of Godzilla, as you can say, throughout the movies. Japan tries to give a different interpretation, different backstory through each one, but it's usually the same beginning as nuclear radiation causes monsters to be. These are some of the forms of which he calls mass destruction to Earth, and he's also saved Earth. Don't get me wrong. He's been both the villain and the good guy in the story. Not everybody sees him like that, though. Now, one of the big things you need to know about Godzilla is that there's three different eras. Now, like I said, it started in 1954. There's three different eras. There's the Showa era, the Heisei era, and the Millennium era, which doesn't really count. Millennium era is kind of mixed with Heisei, but I still count it as Millennium. There's also a current era, which is the Reiwa era. We'll get into that later. That's not too much of importance right now. Showa eras was started it all from 1954. Each era that was displayed in these Godzilla films were called Showa, Heisei, Reiwa, and they were because of the new emperors that were in Japan. It's a pretty interesting story, and one of the things you gotta know about each era is that they have a different significant part. The Showa era is the most educational era, I guess you can say. Showa era talks about how nuclear radiation is bad. It even goes on about movies with bullying on kids to make it more of a kid-friendly movie. They talk about bullying. They also talk about pollution. So I gotta say that Showa era is one of the best eras to go on an educational kind of realm, but Japan always liked to throw it as a metaphor. Godzilla is the big metaphor to help people understand the problems on Earth. And that's one of my favorite eras, just for the educational purpose. Now, for the super battle badassery, I guess you can call it, is the Heisei era. Heisei era is where Godzilla is a complete beast. As you can see over here, this would be how Godzilla looks in the Heisei era. A boss, complete boss. The Reiwa era is the current era right now. That is for the new Emperor of Japan, which is Emperor Reiwa. Reiwa. Names are not too easy to say, I gotta say that. This is the first emperor, Emperor Showa, which he dated from 1954 to 1975. The second emperor, which is Emperor Heisei. Emperor Heisei is actually in two of the eras of Godzilla, which I count, which is the Heisei era and the Millennium era. Millennium era was only the era for basically showing Godzilla's new millennium, since it was the start of 2000. So he had a new look, a more sharper tone, and that's why I kind of separate the two eras, but they still had the same emperor, which was Emperor Heisei. The current era, which is the Reiwa era, which is from 2014 to the present, and this is Emperor Reiwa, and this counts all the current Godzilla movies that are happening right now. So the MonsterVerse movies and one of the Godzilla movies that also came out. I had a little technical difficulty right there, my bad. But the Reiwa era is basically all the current eras starting from 2014 and after. Emperor Reiwa started his reign a little bit earlier than 2014, but for his actual Godzilla era, it would basically start in 2014. I am basically only counting the movies, I'm not counting the cartoons. The only thing I will count is the anime trilogy that came on Netflix, that's part of this era. So each era consists of a different amount of movies. Like I said, the Showa era is the most educational era, and guess what? It also contains the most movies. 15 movies for the Showa era. The Heisei era comes out the second most, which would be 7 movies. And that's mainly just going about his nuclear radiation and military behavior against situations like this. Millennium era, which I guess you can combine it with Heisei. If you combine it with Heisei, then it'll be about Showa. Be about the same amount as Showa or a little bit less, which is 6 movies, and if you count the American film, then it'll be 7. And the current era has technically 5 movies, 5 actual films, and then there's 3 anime films. These are all the Godzilla films out. You guys want to see them? You should definitely check them out. I love it. You will love it. Believe me. Don't make fun of it, People did some amazing things with how Hollywood and Tokyo Studios were. Toho Studios is the studios that started Godzilla, and they still currently are doing some films, and now America is doing some as well. Now, to talk about it, to end my discussion, Godzilla vs. Kong, new movie that's out. You guys definitely need to check it out. And which side are you going for? Godzilla or Kong? You already know which side I'm going on. Godzilla. The big G. The end. I hope you guys enjoy this. Godzilla is a pretty historical figure. He has his own hotel, and he has commercials. Multiple films, commercials, like nobody can beat him. Nobody can beat him. No actor can beat Godzilla. He's my idol. Bye, guys.